There is a particular type of person who cannot simply get into a car and drive. Before the engine starts, before the seatbelt clicks, they pause, they scan, they straighten the floor mat by exactly half an inch. They retrieve a single receipt from the cup holder as if it were evidence at a crime scene. They wipe a surface that was already clean. To anyone watching, this looks like a quirk, a harmless personality trait, maybe even a little funny. But here is what nobody tells you about that person. They are not cleaning a car. They are rebuilding their world. Think about the last time something in your life felt genuinely, completely out of your control. A relationship fracturing at the edges, a job that decided your worth on a Thursday afternoon without warning, a body that started failing you in ways the doctors could not quite explain. In those moments, what did you do? Where did you go? Most people do not realize they have an answer to that question, but they do. Everyone does. Psychology has a name for what happens inside the brain during those overwhelming stretches of life. It is called compensatory control. When the external world strips away our sense of agency, when the chaos outside reaches a volume our nervous system simply cannot process, the brain does something quietly remarkable. It searches, it hunts for one single domain, however small, however modest, where it can be the absolute authority, where its decisions are final, where cause and effect still behave in a predictable, trustworthy way. For this particular kind of person, that domain is a car. Not just any car, their car. That specific enclosed space measuring roughly a few square meters of upholstery and glass and dashboard. A space they can enter, transform, and exit with total command. A space that asks nothing of them and surrenders everything to them. It sounds almost too small to matter, but that is precisely the point. The car exists in a remarkable psychological position. It sits suspended between two worlds. Behind them is the workplace, with its politics and performance reviews, and the quiet indignity of being evaluated by someone who doesn't truly see you. Ahead of them is home, with its complicated love and its emotional weight, and the beautiful, exhausting responsibility of being needed. And in between those two worlds, inside that moving capsule of steel and glass, there is a brief, sacred window where neither place can reach them. That window is everything. Now go back further, back to where this all actually began. For many of these people, the obsession with controlled spaces did not start with a car. It started with a bedroom door, or a carefully arranged desk in the corner of a loud house. It started in a childhood where the adults around them were unpredictable, where the emotional weather of a household could shift without a single warning sign, where the only thing a child could reliably govern was the arrangement of objects in their own small corner of the world. When you grow up reacting to the chaos of others, you learn something early, and you learn it deep. You learn that order is safety. You learn that a clean surface means you are in control. You learn that if you cannot stop the storm outside your door, you can at least build something immaculate inside it. That lesson does not disappear when you grow up. It evolves. The childhood bedroom becomes a car interior. The organized desk becomes a spotless dashboard. The instinct remains identical. The environment just gets an engine. And every single time that person wipes down their center console, they are not performing maintenance, they are performing a kind of quiet self-parenting. They are offering themselves the stability that no one offered them back then. They are whispering to some younger, frightened version of themselves that this space, this one space, will always be calm, always be clean,
always be entirely theirs. There is something deeply moving about that if you sit with it long enough. What looks like an obsession with cleanliness is actually an act of profound self-preservation. What appears to be a weekend chore is actually an emotional ritual. Every fingerprint erased from the window is an anxiety scraped away from the surface of the mind. Every emptied cup holder is a decision made in a life that sometimes feels like it offers very few of them. The spotless car is not a car anymore. It is a boundary, a declaration, a physical line drawn in the world that says this far and no further. The mess of everything else stops here. And as that person finally pulls out onto the road, hands steady on a clean steering wheel, looking out through a perfectly clear windshield at the completely unpredictable rush of traffic ahead, they carry something with them, a manufactured calm, a borrowed peace, small, yes, temporary, perhaps, but entirely, completely theirs. So the real question is not why some people obsessively clean their cars. The real question is, what is your car? Where is the small, contained corner of your existence that you have been quietly perfecting while everything else moves too fast to hold? What ritual are you performing that looks like productivity or cleanliness or routine, but is actually the most honest conversation you have with yourself all week? Your spaces are speaking. They have always been speaking. The only question left is whether you are willing to listen.